Alright, YouTube, time for another video. This one's gonna be a quick one. I gotta get back to doing my daily shit. But, I'm gonna title this one. So, I am more of a left leaning person, with my policies. Things like I do think climate change is real. We have to make sure we conserve our energy output and consumption to a degree. No, I don't think everybody, I don't think, every Democrat is evil and a pedophile, while Donald Trump is way more likely to be one. Although I would say, like, Bill Clinton is on the level of Trump, probably, to be quite frank. But Trump is probably a little bit worse, and also he's the one in charge, so he's the bigger threat to your overall security, national security, and overall health. Um, But if there's one thing I do think that the left deserves some criticism on is there is, your policy proposals on the left might be helpful, but they're not really going to make your life what you want it to be. And what I mean it by is, this a lot of people on the extreme left want this, like, post-capitalist, post-work society, and we're apparently all just going to be on the beach, enjoying our time, and we're all going to have apartments overlooking Central Park in Manhattan, and we're all going to live our lives, we're all going to have second homes and third homes. It's like, no. Okay? Now, I'm not against things like single-payer health care. I'm also not against, like, possibly a universal basic income at this point, but I get really annoyed when people think that these things are going to give you a fulfilling life. They're not. The goal for those should be to allow you to tread water, but at the end of the day, it's up to you to find something that you like and some sort of personal quest to strive for and better yourself with. And that will lead to some level of capitalism, whether it's a financial form of capitalism or at least a form of haves and have-nots via accomplishing said goal. For example, if your goal is to be a fitness dude bro and be really jacked, well, that's creating a have and have-not, maybe not financially, but it could create it in some sort of sociological way, where people might be, treating you differently and maybe better in some ways if you look better or something like that. So, a little spitball in there. I'm not 100% sure how to word that, but capitalism, in the most normal sense, is just about, net worth, supply and demand, markets, all that other good stuff. However, in a more abstract sense, capitalism doesn't have to just be, 401ks, supply and demand charts, stock indices, your net worth. I mean, in other words, I mean, your net worth could be, maybe we live in a post-work and post-money society. Your net worth all of a sudden becomes your height, or how much you can bench press, or, you're seeing it a lot with a bunch of these right-wing nerds talking about IQ. They're obsessed with IQ, right? The IQ test. And, keep in mind, IQ tests are not the only really ultimate way to judge intelligence. I don't think it's necessarily I don't think there's no merit. I think there's some merit to IQ tests, but there's other ways to judge your intelligence. With all that said, it can still create that form of the haves and the have-nots. And it's up to you to really go out into the world and do shit and try new things. And if that thing you don't like it, or you struggled at it and you're bored, it's up to you to know when to drop it and move on to something else. Now, this doesn't mean everybody should just, like, wake up and quit their job, because I get that you can't just really do that. But, ideally, I guess the question you have to ask is, do you have at least 5 minutes, you have at least a few hours a day that's for yourself, right? I mean, you don't have, some people, I guess, work 2 jobs, come home and go to bed, and those people, that's the type of person I wish would get some level of help, financially, so that they could maybe have a normal adult experience. But, most people I know, like, they come home from work and they complain about being exhausted, but maybe you need to go to bed earlier and get a little bit more sleep and not wake up to your phone and be drowsy because you woke up in the middle of the night and started looking at your phone. Maybe you need to actually, I would really like to see, we don't have the data on this in the past, but I would really like to see just how much uninterrupted versus interrupted sleep people get now. And obviously, I don't know how you would compare that to like 1994 or 1971 or whatever, but I'd imagine people are more distracted now than ever at their own damn homes. And like I think I've mentioned this in prior videos, but I don't sleep in the same room as my cell phone, and honestly, that might be one of the most, people always talk about life hack this, life hack that. That's one of the best life hacks I can think of. Not sleeping in the same room as your damn phone. Anyway, this is going to be a shorter one. I'm going to try to get back inside and I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, again, I don't think being a full-fledged right-winger, please don't go that far. Please don't, I mean, I would argue you should stay center-left, but it's okay to have a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not self-importance, but like a little sense of self, I guess, even is, it's not always about the group. Like, sometimes you got to do things to make other people's lives better. I get that, and everybody should also help others. But sometimes you have to go outside and live your life. Sometimes you have to do things. Sometimes you have to try new things. And that's your personal experience. That's you capitalizing on your time and energy on this planet. So, don't forget that as well. And I do think there's people on the extreme left that forget that. And they think that, like, oh, that's a privileged life or anything. It's like, no, you have to do what you have to do. Wanting to have a few hours a day and then a good chunk on the weekends for yourself, I would argue it's unhealthy if you're just spending it all day on the computer, which I think too many people are doing. But, just make sure you're pursuing something else in life that makes you feel like you have a quest. And you can, you can usher people along the way on your journey. And give them a sense of hope and a sense of family and a sense of friendship along with it. But, yeah, I mean, again, UBI, single payer, not really against those things, but they're not really going to make your life fulfilling. They're just going to let you tread water, which is important, but it's not the fulfilling life that you think it's, if you think it's going to make your life fulfilling, it's not. Just my thoughts, and I'm out.